pre-season, he's been brilliant. He's shown sort of levels which we haven't seen before from him.
He can be the guy that hopefully means that whenever we're playing a low block defense, he can carve teams open for us.
You just need to look at his stats every year. Usually most goals for United, usually most assists.
Ideally, in my dream world, he wins the Golden Boot this season. Clip it up, make it go viral.
Hello and welcome to the United in Focus podcast. My name is Dale O'Donnell and I'm joined by my colleagues for a discussion now that pre-season is done and dusted. We've got one burning question to dive into. But before that, Vatsal, are you happy with the transfers United have made so far this summer?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when Sir Jim Ratcliffe said that the club would go bust by December, nobody was sat here thinking we'd spend 200 million on 3 players and contemplating a deal worth 100 million more. So definitely it has exceeded expectations so far. A midfielder and a goalkeeper, and that becomes probably the best transfer window in the Premier League era. Not even post Sir Alex, full stop in the whole Premier League era. So yeah, pretty satisfied so far and hope for more.
John, given what Fatsal's just said, would it be fair to say there's optimism brewing in the air?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it before, but it feels like this is kind of like internal fight within the fan base at the minute, which we've told ourselves not to get carried away after last season, but everything this summer has been so refreshingly positive and optimistic. So the transfers have been great. The matches have been promising so far, as Johnny points out. The last friendly had its flaws, but there is this kind of optimism going into the season, which is exciting, but we're trying not to get carried away.
Absolutely. But today we're going to look at which player each of us think is going to make the biggest difference at United this season in that hope to get into the Champions League spots again. Before we get to that, obviously we need to touch on that we're coming off the back of an abysmal season that saw United lose the Europa League final to Tottenham and finish 15th in the Premier League. That means 2 consecutive seasons without Champions League football, and that's the task Ruben Amorim now faces. Johnny, I'm going to go to you first. Can you reveal which player you feel is going to make the biggest difference at United this season?
So I've tried to avoid the big names. Went with Paddy Dorgu. I think he came in last season, and I think all of us can agree he wasn't convincing most of the time. But he kind of ended last season quite strong, and I think pre-season he's been brilliant. He's shown sort of levels which we haven't seen before from him, and I think if Amorim's going to be successful, he's going to need the wing backs to be playing well. So I can only hope that he's going to sort of contribute to that. And we've seen sort of his attacking output started to come together. He's been a goal threat. He's been assisting. He's been creating chances, which he was doing last season, to be fair. But there wasn't really anyone in the box to sort of capitalise on that. But, with 6'5" Sesko in there, you would hope someone can get his head on those crosses.
It's another factor to throw in is that he doesn't have Garnacho ahead of him, and he might be getting more support now as a result of that.
I think we've seen that already, haven't we? Where Cunha's willing to take the overlap, whether Garnacho was always sort of wanting to cut inside and go for glory.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully the new signings that Amorim does come in, the likes of Dargu, Lenny Yoro, they all kick on now and continue their development, because that would just help us and obviously stay fit. That's another key factor that we need to show in, that all the players we mentioned today, that they stay fit because they're crucial to United season. Sean, I'm going to come to you next. Can you reveal which player you feel will make the biggest difference for the Reds this season?
Yeah, the one who jumps out to me is playing just ahead of Patrick Dorgu, please. Matheus Cunha. I think he was the first signing who came in at Manchester United, so it feels like the buzz has maybe died down a little bit, especially after the Sesko and Mbumo deals have kind of come through. But he's shown real signs of promise through pre-season. His ball carrying's elite. We've seen that already. I don't think he's going to score 20 goals in the season, but I think he's going to be enough. Last season, we saw so much reliance on Bruno Fernandes to kind of be that creator and that spark for us. But in Cunha, we have someone who can pull the strings, someone who can unlock a defence. And so I think we're going to see that, hopefully, that relationship grow between Cunha and Fernandes, and he can be the guy that hopefully means that whenever we're playing a low block defence, he can carve teams open for us.
Well, it's interesting you thrown in the name Bruno Fernandes because that's the name that I'm picking to be, again, United's most valuable player, I think, this season. I think since he's come from Sporting Lisbon, that's been the case with Fernandes. You just need to look at his stats every year. Usually most goals for United, usually most assists. Now, that's something with some of the players, like you mentioned, Sean, Cunha coming in. I am hoping that these guys can kind of shift some of the responsibility from Fernandes and he can continue with his output, but we need to be less reliant on just Bruno Fernandes. And you'd hope that these stars that come in, they can help him and help United. And finally, the last pick, Vatsal. Who's going to make the biggest difference for United this season?
Yeah, I mean, Matheus Cunha is going to drive the ball forwards, but who is he going to link up with? Patrick Dorgu is going to whip the crosses, but who will be at the end of those? Bruno Fernandes is going to play those searching long balls from deep, but who is going to be running at the end of those? So obviously the answer is the 6'5" Slovenian Benjamin Sesko. Ruben Amorim said himself after the Fiorentina game that they lacked a striker presence. Poor Højlund, by the way. But now that they have him, I'm expecting at least 15 goals. Like, ideally, in my dream world, he wins the Golden Boot this season. Clip it up, make it go viral. But even if he doesn't, I think purely as a reference point, I think he changes the whole attack. The rest of the players need to play around him. Sir Alex said that they need to find Robin van Persie at every possible opportunity when he signed from Arsenal. I think if we do the same with Sesko, we can be in for a pretty surprising season.
Just on Sesko, do you think, obviously we've heard the Rasmus Højlund rumours this week and obviously the AC Milan stuff. What are your guys' thoughts on, should we be keeping Højlund as well as Sesko and kind of making a competition between the two, or are you happy to see Højlund gone out of the way?
I'm pretty much all in on Team Højlund right now just because he has been treated so badly. I mean, he's being ignored by the teammates and he just looks so down and he wants to stay and prove himself. So I would love it if he just goes on a straight loan, comes back and establishes himself next season when we have Champions League football. That would be the ideal scenario.
Yeah, I think we run the risk of, if we do get rid of Højlund, we run the risk of repeating what we had in his first season at the club with no one else to fall back on if Sesko is struggling or not scoring. So I think keeping him wouldn't be the worst in the world, but if we can get him out playing football, scoring goals, bringing someone in for cheap to be the backup wouldn't be a bad idea either.
I think it would be harsh, but United need to be reckless in terms of they came in Ineos and Wilcox and I think it was Barada said that the players have 2 to 3 years to prove themselves. And I think we've seen over 2 years with Højlund that I think he's a good striker, but he's not quite cutting the mustard for United. Maybe a bit harsh because he's young and there's been so much reliance on him being the sole striker. But I think that we've definitely seen enough. And we've also got Joshua Zirkzee there. Once he comes back fit, that'll be a bit of support for Sesko, and we've options as false nines as well and whatnot. And I think we're going to be quite flexible this season throughout the campaign. Speaking of which, we've got Arsenal this weekend in the Premier League opener. A tough start for United. Like I mentioned already, coming off the back of a really bad campaign. We couldn't buy wins last season. Jonny, briefly, what can we expect going into this game? Arsenal are going in as kind of expecting to be title contenders again. United, not the case, but can we prove some of our critics wrong?
Well, I think we saw last season our best performances under Amorim did come against the bigger teams. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did get a win, but I would definitely take a draw. Start the season off with somewhat of a positive.
Hopefully. And Sean, Arsenal, like I said, title contenders. Do you think that United have made the right signings this summer to kind of really prove people wrong?
Yeah, I think we will go into that first game with so much positivity because of the signings. There's so much excitement around the club, which is important. I think there's also a lot of storylines around that game, right? There's obviously Sesko, Gyökeres, Arsenal, Man United is always a huge fixture anyway. So I think we've got to really go for it. As Jonny says, I think the main objective will be to avoid defeat and avoid kind of a negative start to the season. But I think we really can start on the front foot here, yeah.
Vatsal, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you, who scores in the Premier League first? Gyökeres or Sesko?
I mean, so we are on United on Focus. So obviously, we know what the answer is going to be. I think Sesko scores twice before Gyökeres even gets one.
Brilliant. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Well, that's it for this week. We want to know from you who you think would make the biggest difference at Manchester United this season. Let us know in the comment section below, and we'll get through your responses. Thanks for listening.